There's an old saying, a river doesn't force itself through rocks. It finds the smoothest path. Yet, how often do we fight against life's natural currents? We push, resist, and struggle, only to find frustration waiting for us at the end. The Stoics had a simple but profound principle. Do not force what is not meant to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." But there's a hidden wisdom here. This doesn't mean we should smash through obstacles like a battering ram. Instead, we must learn when to persist and when to yield, when to act and when to accept. Imagine a man lost in a dense forest. If he panics and pushes forward without direction, he becomes even more entangled. But if he stops, observes, and follows the natural openings in the landscape, he eventually finds a path. Life is much the same. The more we force an outcome, the more resistance we create. The more we embrace what is, the more effortlessly things fall into place. This is the art of effort without struggle, movement without desperation. It is the difference between swimming with the current and exhausting yourself fighting against it. It is the wisdom of knowing that some doors are meant to open easily, while others remain locked for a reason. The key to peace lies in understanding that not everything is meant to be forced. Lesson 1. The power of letting go. Imagine grasping a rope tightly, trying to pull it your way. The harder you pull, the more resistance you feel. But if you let go, what happens? The tension disappears. Life is much the same. We hold on to relationships, expectations, and desires, believing that if we just try harder, we can make them work. But Epictetus warned us, some things are within our control and some are not. The key is knowing the difference. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about releasing attachment to outcomes we cannot control. A farmer does not demand the rain. He plants, waters, and trusts nature to do the rest. Similarly, we must learn to surrender where we have no power. This does not mean we stop caring or putting in effort, but rather that we shift our focus to what is truly within our grasp. A musician does not force a song into existence. They allow the melody to emerge naturally through practice and patience. A sculptor does not wrestle with the stone, but follows the shape it suggests, carving along the lines nature has already placed. Think of a river meandering through the landscape. It does not fight the land or try to rush past obstacles. Instead, it finds the natural course, flowing effortlessly where gravity leads. When we push too hard in a direction not meant for us, we create unnecessary struggle, draining our energy on things beyond our control. Resistance creates friction, and friction leads to suffering. If we force things, we become blind to opportunities that arise naturally. A business deal that falls through may create space for something better. A relationship that ends may free you to find deeper, more authentic love. A failure today may lay the foundation for tomorrow's success. The Stoics teach us that every closed door is an opening to something else. We must learn to discern when to act and when to allow things to unfold. There is a time to plant seeds and a time to wait for them to grow. There is a time to speak and a time to listen. Trying to control every aspect of life is like attempting to grasp water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. But when you hold your palms open, the water simply rests there, unforced and unresisted. To practice this, consider where in your life you are gripping too tightly. What are you afraid will slip away if you loosen your hold? The truth is, what is meant for you cannot be forced away, and what is not meant for you cannot be held on to forever. Trust in the ebb and flow of life. Letting go is not an act of loss, but of liberation. It creates space for something even greater to take root. When you feel tension in your life, ask yourself, am I trying to force something? Take a deep breath, loosen your grip, and watch as life unfolds with less resistance. Lesson 2. Flowing with life. Lao Tzu, a thinker often compared to the Stoics, said, by letting it go, it all gets done. The ocean does not fight the wind. It moves with it. Trees do not resist a storm. They bend. And when they do, they survive. The strongest materials are not those that resist every force, but those that adapt and endure. Nature teaches us a fundamental truth. Rigidity leads to breakage, while flexibility leads to survival. The mighty oak that refuses to bend will snap under pressure, while the willow, swaying with the wind, remains intact. The more we resist reality, the more we suffer. But when we move with life rather than against it, we find harmony. Seneca once wrote, "Fate leads the willing, but drags the unwilling." If we fight reality, we only cause ourselves suffering. To force something is to fight the natural order of things. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting life, but embracing it. When things do not go as planned, it is not a failure. It is a redirection. A river encountering a boulder does not crash into it endlessly. It flows around it, reshaping the landscape over time. The very obstacle becomes a guiding force, shaping its new course. Imagine a sailor at sea. If he fights the wind, stubbornly holding his course against the natural flow, he wastes his energy and risks destruction. But if he adjusts his sails, adapting to shifting currents, he moves forward with efficiency and grace. The same wind that could destroy him can also carry him to his destination, if he learns to work with it rather than against it. Life is no different. The more we resist, the more we struggle. But when we learn to flow, we find strength not in force, but in alignment. By embracing the wisdom of the Stoics, we cultivate resilience, patience, and the power of allowing things to unfold in their own time. Differ we must. Sometimes, we need to stop resisting and start navigating, allowing circumstances to guide us rather than fighting them. There is great power in letting life unfold naturally. This does not mean passivity. Rather, it means recognizing the difference between effort and struggle. The most effective leaders, the most successful creators, and the most content individuals understand when to push and when to step back, when to persist and when to pivot. A river does not force its way through the land. It finds natural openings, carving a path over time. By learning to trust the flow of life, we free ourselves from unnecessary tension and open ourselves to possibilities we never imagined. The same principle applies to relationships. Friendships that grow naturally without force tend to be the strongest. When we try to control or manipulate a relationship to fit a specific mold, it often backfires, leading to tension. But when we allow connections to evolve organically, we create space for mutual understanding and trust. Romantic relationships thrive when both individuals grow together rather than forcing expectations onto one another. Similarly, mastering a new skill is not about forcing perfection too soon, but about embracing the process. A musician does not become great overnight. They allow their craft to evolve. A language learner does not memorize every word instantly, but immerses themselves in the rhythm of practice. A developer does not build a perfect application overnight, but refines their skills over time. Staying adaptable and patient allows growth to unfold naturally without resistance. The more rigid we are, the more easily we break. But flexibility enables us to navigate obstacles with grace. Understanding this principle helps us face setbacks with a new perspective. When a door closes, it is not a dead end but a redirection. What seems like failure is often a step towards something greater. A rejected job application, a lost opportunity, or an unexpected detour can all be guiding forces leading us where we are truly meant to be. To practice this, take note of where you experience the most resistance in life. Are you forcing a solution where none exists? Are you clinging to an outcome that may not be best for you? The more we release, the more we allow new possibilities to emerge. By embracing the flow, we move toward a life of greater peace, wisdom, and fulfillment. When something doesn't go your way, instead of forcing it, ask, "What is life trying to teach me?" Shift your perspective from resistance to flow, from fighting to learning. Lesson 3. Nature's wisdom. Consider the changing seasons. Winter does not rush into spring, and fruit does not ripen before its time. Everything in nature follows its course, yet we often believe we must rush our own growth. Marcus Aurelius advised, never be in a hurry. Do everything quietly and in a calm spirit. Today's world glorifies hustle, as if moving faster ensures success. However, true mastery comes from understanding the right moment to act. Growth is not a race, but a journey with its own pace. A tree does not demand the sun to shine brighter or the rain to fall faster. It absorbs what is given, growing in alignment with its conditions. When we rush, we often sabotage our own potential, burning out before reaching the finish line. But when we trust the timing of our lives, we allow ourselves to develop fully, with resilience and grace. This principle applies to personal ambitions, careers, and relationships. A business forced into premature success may collapse under its own weight. An idea rushed may never reach its full brilliance. Relationships pushed too hard may fail to develop the trust needed to last. Everything meaningful in life requires time to mature. Patience is not idleness, it is wisdom. It allows us to move forward without unnecessary resistance and to let things come to us at the right moment rather than chasing them recklessly. When we pace ourselves, we recognize that every stage of life has its purpose. Waiting periods are not wasted. They are where transformation happens beneath the surface. A young artist cannot master their craft overnight. A musician does not compose a symphony in a single sitting. A writer does not produce a masterpiece in one draft. Skill, like nature, unfolds through practice, refinement, and persistence. We must also embrace the moments in between. Often, we focus so intently on achieving our next goal that we forget to appreciate where we are now. But if we pause, we see that every stage of growth is valuable. Just as fruit ripens on the vine, we are never wasting time. We are in the process of becoming. Growth is happening even when we cannot yet see its full effect. Patience teaches us that growth is not something we force. It is something we nurture, just as nature does not rush. Yet everything unfolds in perfect timing. We must trust the unfolding of our own path. The moments in between are not empty. They are the essence of life itself. The next time you feel impatient, remind yourself, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Trust the timing of your life. Focus on steady, deliberate progress rather than immediate results. The more you allow things to unfold naturally, the stronger and more lasting they become. Lesson 4. The balance of action and acceptance. Some misunderstand Stoicism, believing it teaches passivity. But the Stoics were people of action. They fought battles, led empires, and endured hardships. The key was that they acted without desperation. Epictetus said, "Do your duty, but do not be attached to the outcome." Imagine shooting an arrow. You aim, pull, and release. Once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind, the distance, and the target's movement are beyond your control. Your duty is to take the shot. The rest is fate. Growth is not a straight path, but a winding journey. True success requires patience, not instant results. The best ideas, the strongest relationships, and the most meaningful achievements come from steady, consistent effort. Rushing the process leads to fragile outcomes, while allowing things to unfold naturally ensures lasting success. Trusting in the journey rather than forcing the destination is one of the greatest lessons we can learn. When we fixate on control, we create unnecessary tension. The more we try to force outcomes, the more resistance we encounter. Sometimes, the best approach is to step back and allow events to unfold. This is not giving up. It is making room for the natural flow of life. Success comes from balancing effort and surrender. A sculptor does not aggressively chisel a block of stone, but follows its natural lines. A musician cannot force inspiration, but practices diligently, allowing creativity to emerge. Masterpieces arise through patience and skill, not force. Life is the same. Knowing when to push forward and when to wait is the key to sustainable success. Letting go does not mean losing. It means gaining the freedom to live without constant struggle. The key to happiness is not in forcing things to happen, but in learning to move with the rhythm of the universe. Do your best, then detach. Make space for life to flow effortlessly. Lesson 5. Relationships. You cannot force people to stay. One of the hardest lessons to learn is that, like seasons, people change. A Stoic does not beg for someone to remain, nor do they force love where it is not reciprocated. Seneca wrote, "The wise man is content with himself." Clinging to relationships that have run their course only breeds pain. Instead of resisting the natural ebb and flow of human connections, one must accept that some people are meant to be temporary teachers rather than permanent fixtures in our lives. The best relationships are those that flow naturally, held together by mutual respect rather than control. To force someone to stay is like holding sand too tightly. It only slips through your fingers faster. Just as rivers change course and trees shed their leaves, relationships, too, must be given space to evolve. The more one fights change, the more suffering they invite upon themselves. Instead of gripping tightly to what was, the wise person embraces what is and what may be. We often become attached to people, expecting them to fulfill certain roles in our lives indefinitely. However, true growth requires us to accept that change is inevitable. Some relationships flourish for a season, while others endure for a lifetime. Attempting to impose permanence on something temporary only leads to frustration. The Stoics remind us that clinging to impermanence is a recipe for disappointment, whereas embracing transition allows us to move forward with clarity and peace. Love and friendships are at their strongest when freely chosen. When we release the need to control others, we cultivate authentic connections. Healthy relationships are built on trust, mutual admiration, and the willingness to let each other evolve. If someone is meant to be in your life, they will stay, not because they are forced, but because they choose to. To be at peace with this truth is to understand one of life's greatest lessons. Much like a garden, relationships require space to grow. Overwatering a plant can suffocate it, just as smothering a friendship or romance can drive it away. Giving others the freedom to choose allows relationships to develop naturally. People must walk their own paths, and sometimes those paths diverge from ours. Accepting this fact does not mean a lack of care, but rather an understanding that each person has their own journey to follow. When we view relationships with gratitude rather than attachment, we open ourselves to a deeper appreciation of human connections. Every person we encounter brings something unique into our lives: lessons, joy, companionship, or growth. Recognizing this allows us to cherish each relationship for what it is rather than what we wish it to be. It liberates us from the fear of loss and instills a sense of gratitude for the time shared. Letting go does not mean forgetting or discarding memories. It means appreciating what was while welcoming what is to come. There is grace in allowing life to unfold without resistance. When we no longer force people to fit into preconceived roles, we free both them and ourselves. This mindset fosters healthier interactions, built not on fear of loss, but on an appreciation of presence. The wisest individuals recognize that no relationship is ever truly lost. Every encounter, every friendship, and every romance leaves behind something valuable. Even if someone drifts away, the lessons, experiences, and growth gained from that connection remain. The essence of our bonds exists in the imprint they leave on our souls, not in their duration. By letting go of the need to control relationships, we open ourselves to unexpected joys. New friendships emerge, deeper bonds form, and old connections may return in unforeseen ways. When we practice detachment in a healthy manner, we foster emotional resilience. Instead of fearing endings, we learn to trust that every transition serves a greater purpose. Just as nature does not mourn the passing of one season, but welcomes the next, we too must learn to flow with the tides of life. Holding on to relationships out of fear creates suffering, whereas embracing change with an open heart cultivates wisdom. The more we release our grip, the more we make room for new and fulfilling experiences. Ultimately, relationships should be a source of joy, not anxiety. Loving someone, whether platonically or romantically, is not about possessing them, but about appreciating them for who they are in the moment. Letting people go when the time is right is not an act of loss, but an act of profound acceptance and love. It is in this acceptance that we find our greatest peace. By cultivating this perspective, we free ourselves from the pain of clinging and step into a mindset of abundant gratitude for the connections that shape our lives. Allow people to come and go as they must. Value those who choose to stay, but do not force bonds that are not meant to last. Each day, take a few moments to sit in stillness. Turn off distractions, close your eyes, and simply breathe. Observe your thoughts without engaging with them. Notice how stillness brings clarity and calm. Over time, this practice strengthens your ability to act with wisdom and patience, enriching every aspect of your life. The Stoics remind us, do not force, flow like water, act with wisdom, but accept what is beyond your control. Life is not a battle to be won through sheer force. It is an unfolding process that demands patience, understanding, and adaptability. The river does not struggle. It carves its way through mountains, shaping the land over time. The tree does not resist. It bends with the wind, finding strength and flexibility. You, too, can master this art. Instead of resisting the inevitable, embrace life's natural rhythm. The more you resist, the more suffering you invite. The more you allow, the more peace you cultivate. Rather than forcing a specific outcome, recognize opportunities as they arise. As Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. This is not an excuse for inaction, but an invitation to work with reality rather than against it. Take purposeful steps toward your goals, while understanding that some things remain beyond your influence. True power lies in knowing when to act and when to let go. Trust life's flow. Accept that some doors must close for others to open. Obstacles are often detours leading to a better path. Everything falls into place not through force, but through alignment with life's natural currents. Peace is not found in domination, but in understanding, not in grasping, but in allowing. When you release the illusion of control, you create space for unexpected blessings, growth, and serenity. What in your life are you forcing today? And what might happen if you simply let go?